With the huge success of online horror games where you can play with your friends and have a lot of fun, the truth is that offline horror games with great horror stories have been left behind. But this channel is different. That's because I've put together only the best offline horror games, so leave a like and let's get started. SAIKO no SUTOKA is a very interesting horror game where you have to run away from a crazy girlfriend. Let's talk about it now. There is a name for this type of character in anime and I think it's yandere. Basically, it's someone who loves you so much that at the same time they want to kill you. Yeah, I know it sounds strange, but the game is actually fun. This time you are trapped inside a school. She has basically kidnapped you and now you're stuck with a girlfriend who wants to kill you. The way to escape is similar to other horror games. You'll solve puzzles, unlock doors, and try to find your way out. But one thing this game has that many others don't is multiple endings. From what I know, there are more than 5 different endings, including some really scary ones and even some happy endings. A really good and hidden game on the Playstore with 2 interesting gameplay mechanics. Let's talk about Terminal 81. The game has 2 different types of gameplay. You play as a character who starts working at Terminal 81, but you discover that some women have gone missing and that something very strange is happening there, so you decide to investigate. The first part of the gameplay is focused on your actual job. You have to manage the store, handle purchases, restock supplies, and do things you'd normally see in management games. However, during the night, you start investigating the disappearance of some people and uncovering whether it's connected to something much darker or just ordinary people. A lot of people don't know this game, but if I were you, I would definitely give it a chance. Recently, I ended up watching the movie based on this game, which is crazy because I had never seen a horror movie based on a game before. Let's talk about The Exit 8. This game is also considered a horror game by Niem, but honestly I think it's much more of a puzzle experience. You can spend a lot of time stuck here even though the game only has 1 room for you to walk through. The main idea is to repeat the loop as many times as possible and find all the anomalies. It could be something like a different outfit on a character, a changed painting, or even a much bigger anomaly. If you manage to find them all, you can escape from this place, but if you fail to notice them, you'll remain trapped forever. It's a game that became very popular on PC and eventually received a mobile port. Well, this game used to be called The Secret Elevator, but it ended up changing its name. I don't know exactly why, but the idea remains the same. Let's talk about You're the Only One Here. In this game, you play as a character who is suffering from paranoia. Not only that, but he's trapped inside his own dream. The character starts the game stuck inside an elevator, and the only way forward is to face his fears and deal with his unresolved issues. This is also a more traditional horror game, especially when compared to other games available on Android. It doesn't have any huge mechanics that make it completely different, but it has a good story and a great connection between the simple gameplay and the narrative, making it a very good horror experience. A more traditional horror game, let's put it that way. Let's talk about a game called The Whispering Valley. It's a first-person game that mixes puzzles, point-and-click mechanics, and of course, a good story to follow. The story is about investigating a small town that mysteriously disappeared and you end up finding it hidden in the middle of the fog. You need to investigate your character's past and discover how they are connected to this mysterious town. The story of The Whispering Valley is not that simple. There are many characters, their relationships are complex, and everyone holds a piece of the secret. To uncover the truth, you'll have to talk to each of them, explore the environments, and read their letters. The game doesn't have any major new mechanics, but it does the basics extremely well. Definitely one of the most fun games on this list for you to play. Let's talk about Moth Lake. One of the most interesting things about this game, and something that makes it different from the others, is that you play as a group of people, basically teenagers. They are living their normal lives in a small town until they realize that something strange is happening and their friends are starting to disappear. That's when the gameplay begins, as you explore the game and discover what kind of monster is behind everything. You play with different characters, and not only that, but you can choose who you want to save and who you will let die. Of course, the game also has several different endings depending on your choices, and without a doubt, the best part is the dialogue between the characters. There are actually several games from this series scattered around the Playstore, so you can play any of them. Let's talk about Mr. Hopp's Playhouse. I think you could say that the story is usually about a child who changes depending on which game you are playing, trying to escape from a toy that has come to life. Since there are more than 6 different versions, each one usually features a different child and a different toy. Some of these games are in 3D, and honestly they look really beautiful. Others use a 2D style, but the gameplay doesn't change that much. You'll have to run away from them while trying to escape. I know this type of horror story is very famous, but I rarely see people talking about this game.
Oh no, I hate the dark. I hate the dark.
This game has a very interesting story and at the same time gameplay that keeps you engaged. Let's talk about PSICOSIS. In this game you play as a child who is going through serious problems. They start seeing imaginary friends while also struggling to adapt at school and dealing with difficult situations at home. Unlike many other games, this one gives you several different environments to explore, from places like the school to your own house and your relationship with your family. Besides having a good story, you'll follow the character through many different scenarios. You'll discover what these strange imaginary friends really are and why all of this is happening. If you stop and think about it, Reporter is actually a pretty good horror series on the Playstore. It's a very well made horror game, so let's talk about it. Unlike many other games, here you play as an investigator. If you enjoy solving puzzles and uncovering mysteries, this game might be for you. You travel to a mysterious town where several murders and disappearances have been happening. Of course, what seemed like a simple case to solve quickly turns into something much bigger. Now you're dealing with supernatural events that you never thought could actually exist. Talking a little about the gameplay, it's also relatively simple. You open doors, solve mysteries, and of course run away from monsters. Even though the game doesn't bring anything completely new, it's still a good horror experience to follow. Just from the name of this game, you probably already know what it's about. Let's talk about Ronald McDonald. In this game, you get a night shift job at a McDonald's. Your job is to do things like clean the place and keep everything organized so the morning staff can start their shift without any problems. The problem is that in the middle of your shift, Ronald McDonald shows up, and for some crazy reason, he actually wants to kill you. You'll have to run from him, open and close doors, and do everything you can to avoid getting caught. The game doesn't do anything drastically different from other horror games, but it's very well made. Maybe one of the simplest games on this list, but with a great story. Let's talk about Keep in Mind. In this game, that you play as a character who is struggling with depression. He has one last night of sleep and ends up trapped inside a dream. From there, you need to investigate the reasons behind everything while also dealing with the monsters that exist inside his own mind. Unlike many games on this list, this one uses a more isometric style. You can freely explore the map while investigating different things connected to your character's past. Unfortunately, this is a shorter game that you can finish relatively quickly, but it's still worth playing because of its story and its slightly different gameplay. A little game that is hidden on the Playstore and honestly is definitely worth knowing. Let's talk about Kiosk. The idea of the game is very simple. You take care of a small kiosk where you prepare different foods like hot dogs and even hamburgers. However, since it's on this horror list, you end up working the night shift. During your shift, some very strange things start happening. You'll need to investigate what's going on while also preparing food for your customers. This type of game has been becoming very popular on other platforms and it's no different on Android. This one is very well made and definitely worth checking out. The first game on our list isn't exactly pure horror, it's more of a horror adventure. Let's talk about Little Nightmares. This game was a huge success on PC and it's been available on Android for quite a while now. It's not as lightweight as it looks, in fact it's fairly demanding because it's a full port. In the game you control a small character who, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't even have a name. They're trapped on a massive ship filled with gigantic monsters that want to make them their next meal. Your goal is to solve puzzles, avoid being spotted by the monsters, and eventually escape the ship. The game was such a success that it received a sequel and more recently a third game was announced. Unfortunately, only the first game is available on Android. And this game was unavailable on the Playstore for a long time, but it recently received a remastered version. Let's talk about Misguided Never Back Home. This game was originally released for Android back in 2014, but it went for years without proper updates and only worked well on older phones. However, in 2025, it finally received a remastered and improved version. In the game, you play as a young woman searching for her missing best friend. If I'm not mistaken, the story takes place in Indonesia. It's also played in the third person and has a really good story to follow. Unlike many other horror games, this one doesn't rely on a lot of jump scares. Instead, it focuses on telling a great horror story that keeps you immersed and slowly reveals everything that happened. This is a super hidden horror game on the Playstore. A lot of people don't even know it exists, but it definitely won't be forgotten on this channel. Let's talk about MORTUI. Unlike many other games, this one takes place during a zombie apocalypse where basically everyone has turned into a zombie and you need to find a way to survive. Your character ends up hiding in sewers and underground tunnels or something similar. Down there you have to find a way to get food, survive against the zombies, and of course keep running when things get dangerous. Unlike other games, this one doesn't have a huge story where you need to defeat a big villain. It even gives you the option to fight zombies using weapons, but overall it's still a good horror game. The story of this game became so famous that Netflix even released a series based on it. Let's talk about Detention. The story takes place in Taiwan during the 1960s, a period of military dictatorship known as the White Terror. The game mixes Chinese and Buddhist folklore elements with the oppression of that time to tell a psychological tragedy. You play with different characters in different environments, trying to discover what is really happening inside this school where students are dying one by one until it's your turn. Throughout the game, you'll talk to many NPCs and solve different puzzles to uncover what is truly happening there. One of the games with a really great story. Let's talk about DISTRAINT. In this game, you play as a character whose job is to remove people from their homes when they can't pay their rent. He works for a large organization and his main task is forcing poor people to leave their houses. This job starts to create a huge feeling of guilt in his life. He begins to experience things that honestly you won't even know if they are real or not. Throughout the game, you will evict several poor people from their homes and see the sadness on your character's face. After that, you begin fighting against yourself, trying to find a meaning in life. This is a very interesting game, definitely worth playing with a simple but effective gameplay style. There is another super unknown horror game that you can find on the Playstore. It's called X-Signal. Unlike many games on this list, this one lets you actually fight some of the monsters you encounter. Your character has a weapon and you can shoot the creatures. You are in a completely abandoned place after some kind of catastrophe, searching for your missing family. At the beginning, the game seems very simple. You talk to some NPCs and collect information. However, the real game starts when the monsters begin attacking your base. From that moment on, you need to survive and find a way to reunite with your family. This is definitely one of my favorites, and it only has one major flaw. Now let's talk about Forgotten Memories. In this game, you play as a detective named Rose. She's investigating the disappearance of a child, but she ends up being kidnapped herself and taken to a completely abandoned place. Now she has to find a way to escape while continuing her search for the missing child. Unlike many of the games on this list, this one is played in third person. Honestly, that alone was enough to get me interested. The game has a much darker atmosphere, an interesting story, and it's one of the most unique horror games available on Android. The gameplay revolves around fighting enemies, solving puzzles, and of course uncovering the story. Maybe one of the games on this list with the darkest story of all. Let's talk about FRAN. This game became very popular among streamers, mainly because of its extremely dark story. It tells the story of a girl who suffered a terrible accident and witnessed her parents' deaths right in front of her. After that, she is taken to a mental hospital. However, she starts noticing that there are some very strange things happening there, and now you have to investigate and discover what is really going on. To be honest, I've never reached the end of the story or looked up what happens, but I know many people praise this game exactly because of its narrative. Unlike other games, this one is basically a point-and-click adventure with puzzles, which changes the way you play. A lot of people remember this game because of the recent update for its second version. Let's talk about Alien Isolation. I think the most confusing thing about this game is that it's a direct sequel to the first Alien movie. But my friend, if you haven't watched the movie like me, you can still play it without any problems because the game explains a lot of things along the way. And actually, I'll explain it here. You play as the daughter of a character who is searching for her mother who disappeared during the events of the movie. You investigate the entire spaceship until, of course, a lot of aliens start appearing and trying to kill you. Talking about the graphics, this might be the best looking game on our list. It's a very beautiful game, even though it's quite old, and it's definitely one of the most well-made games here. Now this game became quite popular recently and even got a mobile port that many people still don't know about. Let's talk about Choo Choo Charles. Without a doubt, it has one of the strangest names on this list. It also has a story mode, although it's not very deep. The idea is to travel through different locations on a very unusual train. You can upgrade your train in several ways, making it faster and also better protected against monsters. However, at certain points you'll have to stop to collect supplies, food and new upgrades for your train. That's where the horror really begins, because those areas are filled with monsters trying to stop you. It's a fairly simple game, but it's very well made. Maybe you don't remember it anymore, but I do. Dead Space is also a great horror game, and of course we have to talk about it. I think the funniest thing about this game is that you play as a character who's basically just a normal human. There was a huge space station and he went there for work, but when he arrived he discovered that monsters had taken over the station and now he's trapped there with them. Unlike some of the other games on this list, your goal here is to defeat the monsters and escape the ship. A lot of people have forgotten about it, but Dead Space actually got a mobile port years ago. Nowadays most people ignore it, but you can still play it even today.
Forceful, this is your chance to show it. Repair that seal and it'll keep those monsters from reaching the population. It may even gain you some lenience.
This is a game with an 18+ rating and some very disturbing moments once you start playing. Let's talk about DECARNATION. Gloria, your character, is reaching her breaking point. While struggling to deal with the problems in her relationships, career and self-esteem, the cabaret dancer accepts an offer to take part in a new artistic project sponsored by a mysterious benefactor. This is a bit of a unique game because it combines a very well-written horror story with gameplay focused on different puzzles. Since it's not a game that relies on many jump scares or an extremely dark story like some of the others we've talked about, many people end up forgetting about it, but the truth is that it's still a great horror game and it's definitely worth checking out. A game that a lot of people have already forgotten about on Android, but I haven't. Let's talk about Deranged. If you're a fan of Silent Hill, this game might be for you because it takes a lot of inspiration from it. You play as a man searching for his missing wife inside a hotel and eventually you find the place, but of course once you step inside you can't get back out. On top of that, there are some really strange monsters lurking around. The game is played in third person, everything is very dark and some of the monsters are quite difficult to kill. You'll need to unlock doors, find keys and of course defeat the monsters along the way. The game has a good story and is one of those forgotten gems on Android. And that's the end of our list. These are some of the best horror games you can find on Android, from hidden gems to unforgettable experiences. Now it's your turn. Which one of these games are you going to try first? Leave a comment and I'll see you in the next video.